Welcome to another episode of Axe of the Blood God, an independent RPG podcast. I'm your host, Kat Bailey, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Nadia Oxford.
Hey, Kat, you're killing it. You're in charge of the tech now that Eric has the plague. He got
Yes,
bitten by a rat
I've
and a
enacted a
flea. And
coup and taken over the stream. I run the stream now.
just picturing Eric like all shriveled up from the couch. No!
I,
Reaching desperately
so
for the
far, I
screen.
think everything is going okay. I don't think I've made any too many mistakes. I have to say, big respect to Eric for running this every week because there is a lot to it. Um,
There it is.
And speaking of Eric, he has the plague this week, sadly, as a lot of us have had it recently. It's really been going around, that old plague. So
That all plague.
we're joined once again by our lovely producer, Victor Hunter.
I acknowledge your technical prowess and swear fealty to you, Cat.
Thank you so much. Yes, I have enacted a coup and I've brought everybody in under the blood guide. Wait a minute, I already run this place. I guess I'm taking back what is mine at long
Power to the
last.
people.
Yes. And it's my first act as ruler of Axe of the Blood God. I decree that this week we will be talking about our RPG Backlogs of Shame. It's the summer. It's a long, hot COVID summer. We got a lot of old RPGs to play and maybe new RPGs. So we're just going to hang out. We're going to talk a little bit about the RPGs that we really, really want to get to and play and get through. And then you can kind of ridicule us and be like, oh, I thought, Kat, that you were an RPG expert. Are you saying that you did not play insert RPG here? Look, I'm a very busy person, and RPGs are literally 40 to 100 hours if you're not playing Final Fantasy XIV, which is like 1,000.
Yes.
If you're lucky. If you're
It's not like
lucky.
when we were kids and you got one game and you, by God, you played that game no matter how crummy it was.
You
just
played it
out of
so many
spite.
times.
Yeah,
Over
it's
and
like,
over and
oh,
over again.
I know every pixel of Mega Man 3 because I had to make that game last. I really did.
It's funny, I was talking to Reb last night because we went to a San Francisco Giants game, actually. And we were talking about NES World Championships, which I believe is coming out this week. And she was like, yeah, I was really struggling with Kirby's Adventure. I wasn't really sure about the move. And I'm like, I played that game so much. I played until my eyeballs fell out
Yeah.
in like 1994.
You hear the music in your dreams. Da, 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 da.
Or when like Mario 35 came out and a whole generation of Xennials went, my time has come.
My time
I've
has
been
come. We
training
just
for this moment my entire life.
fuck them kids, just like demolishing them while they were
Fuck
trying
them
to like, go over
kids.
the first pipe. I can't do this. It's like my brother. He still buys Call of Duty just to camp out on Christmas and kill the noobs.
That's what you do. Is you get it on Christmas and then you just completely roll the 8-year-olds who are getting Call of Duty because their parents
He's
are
really
terrible.
good at that.
Yeah, exactly.
He's really good at that. 'Cause we played a lot of laser tag when we were younger.
Well, we'll be getting to our RPG Backlogs of Shame in just a hot moment. But first, if you enjoy the podcast and you want to get it ad-free and you want to join our wonderful Discord, patreon.com/bloodgodpod, where for just $1 a month, that's it, $1 a month, you can support the podcast, you can join the Discord, you can vote on things, you can get the podcast ad-free. There's a lot of benefits to joining the Axe of the Blood God. You'll be on our mailing list, all that jazz. You'll get to hear about whatever the heck Nadia's up to, all of Aunt Nadia's shenanigans.
I'm always up to shenanigans.
She's
I'm full of shenanigans.
all the shenanigans. And yeah, so join the Patreon, and then also at higher tiers, you get more stuff. So at the $10 level, you get the Pantheon of the Blood God, which we just recently released our Wizardry episode with Lucas White and Felipe Pepe. And it was a really enjoyable episode. We really delved deep into RPG history with that one. So you should definitely go check out that episode. Brendan Hess was also on it. Yes, I was just remembering that one. And we are currently in the middle of our next Pantheon, which is my Pantheon, and we're playing Pokemon Red and Blue. It's Pokemon Summer here.
Yeah, I was gonna tell on Victor because he was saying that we shouldn't be able to include Fire Red and Leaf Green in that, and he also complained, Kat, I'm snitching,
Yeah,
about
do it.
how you
Do
were
it.
just like, we could play any what's the series?
Super Robot Wars.
Super Robot, because you're so desperate to get us to play Super Robot Wars, you don't care what we play, just as long as we play it. But that annoyed Victor a little bit.
Oh, is that why you were an Axe of the Blood God purist or a Pantheon purist or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. They're two separate issues, but I feel like the Pokemon thing is like, well, oh, okay. I would accept a like, if say Generation 1 as a concept is something we wanted to add to the Pantheon, or like I don't know. There's something about the okay, like Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow are very different experiences from Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, which are very different experiences from say Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Those are quite different games. So if we are trying to maintain a certain credibility to the Pantheon, which listen, after we voted Sakura Wars out, uh, I understand if we're just deciding we're playing pretty fast and loose with what this Pantheon stands for. But I don't know. I think yeah, there's something about that bristles my brain a little bit.
Uh,
Um,
my counterpoint is that we've talked about updated versions and remakes for a lot of different RPGs, including Wizardry, which we talked about last month, and we talked extensively about the Digital Eclipse, and we tend to include remakes when we're talking about when we're taking into the legacy and such into consideration. And I think that Fire Red and Leaf Green are a key part of Red and Blue's legacy, even though they are technically part of the Gen 3. But these are all things that we can talk about. And look, frankly, I'm not doing another episode of Pokemon after this. I mean, we could do a Ruby and Sapphire generation, and I'm sure Fire Red and Leaf Green will come up. But Fire Red and Leaf Green, as far as I'm concerned, are intrinsically linked to the original Pokemon Red and Blue, and Yellow. So that's my argument, my counterpoint.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll swing by for that episode for a minute.
Oh,
and
Maybe you
yeah,
will.
yeah.
I think we have a
That
new
could be
guest.
fun.
well,
I think
you
it's
edit
Doug
the
Oliver as well.
episodes, so you can just break in anytime.
Yeah, that's true. But let's be real. The only one that should be in the Pantheon is Pokemon Crystal anyway. So
Interesting.
Interesting. This is. I mean, okay. I can't hate on that take because Pokemon Crystal freaking rules, and it's arguably like the apex of the series and a key part of Satoru Iwata's legacy. Anyway, this is all a big advertisement for the Axe of the Blood God, the Pantheon of the Blood God, which is universally praised. Everybody loves
Absolutely.
the Pantheon. Yeah.
Everybody loves it. Nobody hates it.
Everybody,
I think.
there's no controversy whatsoever with the Pantheon. And if you want the first two seasons, 2021 and 2022, you can buy over on the Pantheon. You can buy them kind of piecemeal and listen to older episodes that you want. Next year, we'll add the 2023 season, which has a lot of bangers. We've done a lot of good Pantheon episodes over the years. A couple more notes. Obviously, we stream every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, with the weekly episode, twitch.tv/BloodGodPod. Please like and subscribe and support our Twitch channel so we can keep building on this and keep doing this. We have merch at shop.bloodgodpod.com. And finally, the Axe of the Blood God charity stream, which was originally set for next week, has been moved to August 17th and 18th. Mark your calendar. We're going to have a lot of amazing guests. I just locked one in very recently. I locked in a couple very recently. Look forward to it. Can I spoil one thing that we're planning on doing? Are we ready?
Yeah.
Nadia, Eric, and I are going to start our Baldur's Gate 3 run. We're gonna
Oh
play
man.
like 4 hours of Baldur's Gate 3 together. It'll be like the tabletop of the Blood God, but with like added shenanigans. One of us is gonna be the Dark Urge. Maybe it'll be Nadia. Maybe we'll all get murdered.
No, I play games too nicely. You would have to get Eric
Yeah.
or Katie to like. If it was Katie and she had the Dark Urge,
She'll
that'd be
run
the
out.
best game
She'll
ever.
run over us again, like she did in PUBG that one time.
That should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Can I can like use my character I already made, right? Just like start a new game with
Yeah.
him. Or cool,
Yeah, I
let's roll
think
this
so.
again.
Yeah, if you want to. I
Awesome.
mean, I don't know if we're gonna like coordinate like this or if we're gonna keep it a secret. It would be funny if we all showed up with the same character class. It's like we got 3.
4 healers, let's
We
go.
got 3 bards. Oh no,
Nat 20, let's go.
a 3 bard playthrough would be pretty funny actually. I
That would be really deadly. That would be
I like it.
think I'm gonna fire up a new
everyone
character.
rolling ones and farting in front of the important characters.
I might
getting us
literally
going
be
down.
I might be the Dark Urge because I am the evil one of the group. I have to say. So, and Eric has already done Dark Urge content, so I want to see what's new. Did you ever finish Baldur's Gate 3, Nadia?
No, that's actually on my backlog that we're going to be talking about. I didn't finish the 3rd act because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came and destroyed that all my time. So I have to go back and try again.
I feel embarrassed to ask this because I literally played Baldur's Gate 3 for like 100 hours. There's like a party of 4, right? In that game?
Yes.
You get like 4 characters, not just 3.
Yeah, I think so.
Victor, do you want to play Baldur's Gate 3?
I would if invited. Yeah. Yes. I would gladly.
We invite you. We can have the whole party. So like will
That
the
would be
whole thing
hilarious.
crash if you have 4 people?
I hope not. It's supposed to be played by 4 people.
I mean, what we'll do is we'll like spin up 4 characters and we'll just make sure that it works so that we don't accidentally have
Sure.
a 4-hour segment just go completely in the tank.
Yeah, that would probably be bad if we didn't like get anything done because we all picked like awful pissy characters and
Wow.
they all died to like goblins.
It would be pretty
Hey, what's
amazing
this
if
thing?
I mean you can revive everybody in that game, so it's like no big. There is no permadeath.
Yeah.
But I think it would have to wait a while, like if one of us dies super early, to
Yeah,
be able to come
yeah.
back into the game.
Right.
So don't die.
No dying allowed, everyone.
No dying allowed.
Can do.
And on
As
that
of this
note,
moment.
it's time now to talk about the RPG Backlog of Shame, Summer 2024. It's a long, hot RPG summer, wet, hot RPG summer here at Axe of the Blood God. We're all sweltering, and we're all thinking about the RPGs that we haven't been playing. And I ask you to, I guess I'll start with you, Nadia. What is the biggest game on your RPG backlog list of shame?
That's easy. The Witcher 3. I just have not gotten around to it. I tried it on the Switch, and I was like, this is probably not the kind of game I should be playing on the Switch, especially the small Switch. I forget the name of it, but yeah, I said to myself, well, as soon as the update is done, I'll go back to it. And guess what? I haven't gone back to it. So that's definitely my biggest shame because The Witcher 3 is like one of the instrumental RPGs for modern action RPGs.
Did you try it?
On the Switch, yeah. And I was like, this definitely needs to be played on a screen. I was a little bit confused with like using the silver sword versus the regular sword. Like I'm sure I would have gotten the hang of it, but it did kind of take me a minute to say,
Silver for
okay, what am I doing
monsters,
here?
steel for humans.
That does
and
make sense.
As in
Also,
all things in life.
Smash
I
Bros.
think
equivalent.
I think he draws his swords automatically. So
Oh, okay.
you don't really have to worry about it too much.
Just hit people.
Just
Hit with-
go and hit him.
Hit with blade. Hit with
Go in
blade.
and hit
Yeah,
him,
no.
parry, roll around like a maniac. Use your little Witcher signs, like fire. Augie, is it Augie? I don't remember. Use your fire sign and stuff and set them on fire, which is very satisfying.
Yeah.
There's
Someone
no-
will die.
There's nothing more fun than walking into a village full of bandits and them like confronting you and then pulling their swords and you just immediately doing whoosh and they all start on
Yeah.
fire and you just run in and start chopping off their limbs and everything. I'm very violent. So
Well, that'll learn them.
that's
not be
that's
thieving.
why this show is called Acts of the Blood God, because secretly I'm like the most violent person on this show.
You heard
It's
it here,
not called
folks.
friendship of the blood god. Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, Nadia, I finally finished the Blood and Wine DLC. I think it was 2022, 2023. I think it was 2022. And I have to say that it was totally worth it. If anything, the DLCs are even better than the base game. They really do an incredible job of refining it. Like, two of the absolute best quests in the game. Remarkable world. Like, I think they elevate the game a lot. I will say that it's a little slow to get into. It took me a while, but there comes a point maybe, I think that was when I met Triss that I started to really start to get in. When I met Yennefer and Triss, that was when I really started to get into it, like big time. And it's such a beautiful world to explore. That game, do you know that game's almost 10 years old at this point?
Yeah, it's
Crazy.
holding up.
Wild.
My only Witcher experience is I have two things. Oh no, three things. Okay. My fiance once did a very good cosplay of Ciri,
Mm.
that gained some traction online. I was once on a podcast where we were ostensibly supposed to be talking about what our games of the year were, and then the other two people on the podcast talked about Witcher 3 so much that I didn't even get to talk about my game. And then
It wasn't
and
this
then-
podcast, was it?
no, no.
Oh, thank God.
This was back when it came out.
Okay.
And I once dated a girl from Poland who really liked it.
That makes sense.
It's a national
Okay.
treasure there.
But then we ended up breaking up because it turns out she lied about everything. so
So she
so
wasn't
I
from
don't
Poland?
know.
Wow.
I think she was still Polish, but I don't think she knew anything about the game. I ended up discovering that I didn't actually know what her job was. We
Okay.
dated for 8 months, lived together for 4, and I have no idea what she did for a living or where she was from. Everyone in my circle is confident that she was some kind of spy.
What the hell is she spying on you for?
I don't know.
This MFer loves Sakura Wars. Better do something about that. Send in the snipers.
So that's all of my Witcher experience. That's all pretty.
Oh my
So,
God.
The Witcher, Poland sent a spy after you, and
Yes.
she blew it because she didn't know anything about the Witcher, and she said she did.
Yes.
You're like, Gandalf, fake. I
Yeah.
smell a fake from here.
In Poland, the Polish government was like, we've just gotten intelligence that there's a Canadian who wants to put Sakura Wars in the pantheon of the blood god. We need to send someone from the future to the past to spy on him.
Poland looking out for our best interests. And
Thank God.
I suppose.
And that's
Someone
the
has to.
only time it's okay to call out someone for being a fake gamer. When it
That's
turns
true.
out they're a spy for a government. Yeah.
A little bit of Victor Hunter deep lore. So Axe of the Blood God deep lore, when we first started the Pantheon 3 years ago now,
Oh no.
which is incredible. Nadia and I did a whole watch of The Witcher on Netflix. Witcher season 1. We didn't do season
right.
2. And so Nadia saw all of season 1, but hadn't played The Witcher at that point. So she must be the only person on the planet who watched The Witcher on Netflix and didn't immediately play the game.
Yeah, it had the opposite effect on me, I suppose. But
Yeah.
I'm special.
But she did hear that banger Toss a Coin to Your Witcher, which
Toss a
topped the
coin to
charts in 2021.
Oh
Oh
boy.
boy. Oh
Wow.
boy.
Valley of
We
Flash.
all we were all much younger and more innocent than, maybe only a little more innocent. But Victor, what's on your backlog of shame?
Okay. I know we've already done this segment, this episode before, but it's time for another Victor takes umbrage with the premise. Insert the theme song for Victor takes umbrage with the premise here.
There's a theme song?
That's just New
I'm
Kids in the
making
Hall
one.
theme song.
I've committed. I'm making one.
Okay.
Look, the backlog, I don't think of my games as a backlog. This is, I think I've brought this up possibly on Charlie and Dropouts before, but we can free ourselves. We can reach a state of nirvana where there is no shame to not getting around to games. Not only that, but a state where there doesn't need to be a sense of pride for having completed many games. We can all ascend to a higher plane of consciousness by just embracing that games are. I think of my backlog, if you will, my gaming shelf. It is a wine rack. I treat it like a wine rack. When someone has a wine rack, they don't think, I can't wait to get through all of this wine.
Oh shit,
Or
I've been doing it wrong.
or well,
I don't have a wine
unless
rack.
you have a problem.
Yeah.
Most people, and if you have that problem, you're probably not
No,
spending
you're probably
that
drinking out of
money
a
on
box.
wine. Yeah.
So you're saying
Uh,
that Witcher 3 is like a 25-year-old, Cabernet or something like that?
Yes, absolutely. It is when I think of games I want to play or need to play, I think of them as what will be the pairing for my day. You know,
Hmm.
I think where do I want to be? What texture am I looking for in my life? And if a certain game never comes up when I think about the texture I'm looking for in my day, then I save it for another day. It's gonna be fine. Someday I will have a meal that will pair with this game. Um, that being said, I got a big backlog, and boy, it's got some doozies in it. Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, you've never finished
That's
Final
an interesting
Fantasy
one.
8.
I have never finished Final Fantasy VIII. To this day, there are 3 mainline Final Fantasy titles that I have not finished, and that is 7, 8, and 10.
10's an
Now
interesting one. Eric is going to kill you if he hears that.
I've gotten very far in 7 and 10. I have also I think I was growing up around people at the time where I I just kind of knew what happens in 7 and 10 through osmosis, so it wasn't as pressing. Also, my friend group growing up was big into FF8. We had a group of friends that was a pretty even split between guys and gals,
Guys,
and
yes.
the ladies in my friend group were all FF8 stands, and
Interesting.
I knew it was one that I wanted to play. It's why for a very long time I didn't realize that 8 was the black sheep of the series, because all my friends loved it. I always thought 9 was the one nobody liked because nobody in my friend group liked 9.
Interesting. Everyone loves 9.
In fairness,
Everyone
there are a
loves
lot
9
of
though.
people who forgot about 9 until a Final Fantasy 9 renaissance began.
Yeah, absolutely. But I I think 8 is so cool, and I like I say, I need to be in a zone where I really want to dig into those systems, because I think drawing and junctioning is so much fun. I think it's fantastic. I don't know. It looks amazing. I've played the first 2 or 3 hours, maybe a dozen times, and I know I'm gonna love it. I know
How far
it's
did you
gonna be
get?
a blast. Oh, I don't know. These were all like I think the last time I took a stab at it was maybe 8 or 9 years ago. So it's even been a while since I've taken a shot at it.
When we did the
I bought
Pantheon,
the
when we
yeah
did the Pantheon like 3 years ago, I was
yeah
surprised how fast it went. Actually, it's not very fast. It's not very long. Actually,
yeah
it might be like
yeah
20-25 hours. Granted, I was playing with higher speed for drawing and stuff like that, which really
sure
improves the quality of life overall.
yeah yeah
But yeah, no, I think you can get it through it pretty quickly, and I found that it really held up in a lot of ways. The story's a little iffy, in my opinion, but it's a really wonderful piece of world building. It's just fun to
yeah
walk around. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful game. One of the most
It is
beautiful
very good game.
RPGs on the
gorgeous.
PlayStation. Yeah.
Yeah. I think now that I have my RetroTink 4K, I think
Hey.
I'll probably fire that up with some nice CRT filter on there, and I've got the original PS1 discs. I've had them for 15, 20 years or whatever. So I'm gonna do that.
Victor, if your mind is like a fine restaurant, mine is McDonald's. So I think there's a bit of disparity there.
Hey, sometimes I want to pair my day with McDonald's. I think that's just fine.
My brain
There's
is just
no
a big
shame
Happy
in
Meal box.
yeah. I think that's
There's a
great.
toy inside.
I my I also see RPGs as being like wine. I drink a shotgun a whole bottle while crying.
Yeah, that's a mood.
Hey Victor, I asked
Yeah.
the Axe of the Blood God audience if they could also tell us about their backlog of shame. I'm wondering if you could share a couple of the entries from the old mailbag channel.
Oh, I sure
Read
can.
for us.
Oh wow, let's go.
There were a few titles that seem to be recurring throughout some of
Mm.
these responses. But we're gonna go with Patrick says I'm gonna do my best Patrick voice. This is Patrick, ladies and gentlemen.
This is Patrick.
Patrick,
Who
Patrick's like, how dare! Immediately
are you
unsubscribe.
people?
Yeah, I
If
bet
you
Patrick
bump
has
your
never heard
subscription up
that
to the
joke before.
$50 tier, we won't make fun of you.
Sorry, Patrick. I have a cousin named Patrick, I think.
Here's Patrick's voice. Baldur's Gate 3. I get so much choice anxiety in that game. I'm always
Mhm.
afraid I didn't talk to all the people, do all the quests, and make all the right decisions. And therefore, I'll be locked out of some key character or later interaction that makes the game beatable without grinding. Quote, ooh, you said no to the druids? Time to re-roll. Oh, you're 28 hours after that? You should still re-roll. End quote.
Mm. Yeah, I can understand the anxiety around Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
There is some for
I
sure.
definitely, there's a key moment in Act 2 where something happened and I went online and I was like, is it bad that this happened? And every guide was basically like, yes, reload your save immediately because
I think I know what you're talking about.
you done effed up.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, fair enough. But
No,
sometimes it can
there's-
be really gratifying. Sometimes it can be really gratifying just to roll with it. You know, like
Yeah.
things
I
have
agree, like-
consequences, stories happen.
I never reroll characters, or very rarely reroll them. I run with my posse no matter how much I screwed them up.
Drew says in the chat, "Oh, this is kind of why I can't get back to Golden Sun."
Hmm.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
What is the yeah, what I we can talk amongst ourselves for a moment, but I'm excited to see what Drew's response to that is and the explanation because I don't see Golden Sun as being a game with crippling choice
Anxiety?
anxiety.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
strange.
Is
I
it
didn't
because
play
you're
too much
missing
of
out
it.
on the genies, maybe?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's only a few that are missable. Bring up a missables list. The same missables list that I've been looking at on Game FAQs since 2002 or whatever.
Mhm.
It's the same with
Yeah.
Persona, where I'm
Yeah.
playing through Persona 3 Reload at the moment, and I keep checking the network, and it keeps telling me that everybody is hanging out with this one guy, and I've looked him up.
Mhm.
He's this monk who lives in Club Escapade, and the way you get him is you get to strength level 5. Actually, the guides are misleading. It's strength 5. Like, you have to do the cutscene for the 5 in order to get
Right.
this, and you have to be at like courage level 2 or 3, and then you have to go through this whole process, and then you can get him. He's very missable. And there's part of me that's just like, just roll with it. Just roll with it. It's fine if you miss a social link. You don't need to hang out with the drunk monk. And there's another part of me that's like, but I must be friends with everybody. I need everybody to like me.
I actually came very close to missing the Tower Arcana in Persona 4, which is would really be a shame, because that's the one where you tutor the little kid, and he's like, "If you're not good, I'll replace you in a second." And you can respond with like, "Yes, sir," or "Wow, you're a little prick." And that was like my favorite moment in the whole game. But yeah, it's actually a really good Arcana to have, and I almost missed it. And it's like, well, I would finish the game anyway, so it's not a big deal. You're a little prick.
I think
Drew says there. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Drew says there are characters or items that only show up later or the next game if you don't interact with them at the right time. And I would say none of them are very important. And you can just push on through. Like I say, bring up a missable Jin guide, and you'll get everything you need.
Play again.
Yeah.
Make that game last, like we did when we were kids.
Totally.
I have a couple games that I want to share that are kind of on my list of shame. The first one I started but never really got that far into, and has been on my mind, and I might pick up this holiday season. So I have a tradition every Christmas where I pick up a game that has been long on my backlog and finally finish it. This past Christmas, I finished Final Fantasy V.
Nice.
Which-
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Really special experience.
Yeah. That's
sure.
so good.
It is really good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Kat, have you played Nadia? Wait for it. Final Fantasy Dimensions.
I knew we were going there.
Is that the mobile game?
Yes.
That was one of the mobile games before it became before they realized you can't just make good games and put them on phones. You have to make games for phones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dimensions is an evolution of the FF5 job system, and I think is genuinely a really, really good throwback Final Fantasy in ways that other throwback Final Fantasies are not as
It was good what I played, and it was
Yeah.
definitely from a time when Square Enix was like, "Yeah, we're going to use phones as a real platform," and people shut that down real quickly because they're like, I'm not paying $30 for a phone game," and it only got worse from there.
Yeah.
There was never a scenario where phones were ever going to become like major console competitors, even though they tried real hard for a while there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer because you have to get over the touch screen controls,
That
and
too,
it doesn't support any mobile like game pads or anything. But
Yeah.
there's lots of progress being made on the original feature phone preservation front right now, and that includes the original version of Final Fantasy Dimensions, which was known as Final Fantasy Legends in Japan. And if we got a translation patch of that for feature phones, you'd be able to play a very good throwback Final Fantasy using actual controls. So,
Well, here are some candidates for a future Christmas playthrough. Cyberpunk 2077.
That's one for me.
A game that I started but never got that far into, and would like to, now that it's good, apparently, would like to actually play, especially now that the Phantom Liberty expansion is out, and everybody's like, last year a lot of people were hailing it as like one of the best things they played. It weirdly got onto the best RPG list at the Game Awards, but struck me as a bit strange because it's like, well, Baldur's Gate 3. Can you not name 3 other RPGs besides Baldur's Gate 3? Seriously? You have to name a DLC? Earthbound.
Yes.
A
Please.
game.
I need you to play that.
A game that I started into and got some distance, but
Mhm.
had a hard time. Like, I found that I found it kind of hard to get into, actually.
It is, I will say, Earthbound can be very hard to get into because it's really front-loaded for the difficulty. When you're alone with Ness and you go through, I think
Yes.
it's called the Happy Valley or whatever.
Yeah, beating up ants.
Yes.
Yeah, and those damn chibi UFOs that give you a cold. And when I got to the Village of Blue or whatever it was called, that's when I really started to get to the game. You get Paula and she can heal, and of course she has the inventory space. Because yeah, there are some systems that are archaic, like the limited inventory space. That can be frustrating for newcomers, especially when you need like individual healing items for status effects, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 12.
Ooh.
That was like you'd like Final
Is-
Fantasy 12.
I
I
got
think
halfway through it, and I always stall out in the middle.
Mm.
Where
That's fair.
exactly? Because I started it 3 times and got midway before I finally finished it, and every time it was at the Still Shrine of Miriam.
Okay. I think I stall out when the judge shows up for the first time, somewhere around
Oh, yeah.
there.
Screw this guy. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not messing with him.
That yeah. I'm always impressed when I start playing it. I'm like, wow, what a cool world. What an amazing opening. Great opening cutscene, huge world. Vaughn is okay, I guess. And
Sierra.
it feels big and rich.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the last time that I've played a Final Fantasy where I was genuinely impressed by the world, I think. So,
Well, that's just because you haven't delved into a little game, Nadia, and I
oh,
like
Final
to
Fantasy
call.
14.
Free to play up to the end of
That's the
Stormlight.
one.
Wow.
Yeah. I love 12.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful.
Evilise is a good Final Fantasy world. It's really well put
Italy's
together. But
fantastic.
it can get a little overly political, I suppose, like in the terms of, oh, this is kind of thick and I don't want to sit through it.
Mm-hmm.
So that it does slow down, as I recall. But it's a great game overall. I love the beginning, as you say. I love the underground segments of the city, Dalmascia. It's been a while since I played it. I should go back to it.
Speaking of Earthbound, this is a big one. A big.
Mother 3.
Maybe
Mother
like
3.
I really need to get through this one. Undertale.
You have not played Undertale, really?
I played it. I got out of the opening area.
Yeah, so it goes for a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, a
but
little bit longer. Yeah.
It's Undertale, I think, was a really special experience for me because there were no spoilers at the time. I just remember Bob Mackey saying, "Wow, this is a really cool game," and I said, "Oh, it's like $5. I'll grab it." And I was just stunned at how good it was. And then the fandom flooded in after me, and people were talking about whether or not you can have sex with skeletons, and I'm like, okay, well, uh, a lot of things have probably been spoiled for you at this point. But Undertale, honestly, that's one of my favorite boss fights of all time with Azrael. Just so good, so good. Such fantastic music. I love interactive storytelling like that. You should still play it, even though a lot has probably been spoiled for you. It's a lot of fun poking. It's a lot of like poking fun at RPG tropes.
It makes me think about how I'm less interested now in the top 100 games because games across eras are just so hard to compare. How do you compare an 8-bit PC RPG to Baldur's Gate 3? It's really hard, actually. But I do think that there's something to be said for a 100 essential games to play before you die, or 100 essential games to understand gaming, right? Because especially like that privileges influence over a lot of things, but if you go into the Pantheon criteria, you start to be able to suss out the games that really stand out over others, the ones that have the mark of greatness and stand the test of time and really have a lot of influence over their individual genre. And Undertale is a big one, actually. So, maybe someday I'll finish Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
You're getting there.
I'll get to it.
Spoiler
No one,
alert. I
no
saw you
one
playing
ever has. It's too long. No one has finished it.
No, I'll get to this in a bit, but I actually have picked it up again. I am playing it.
Finished it.
I've not finished it. I do plan. This is like maybe a little pie in the sky, but I do plan to stream the end and do basically a live reaction to everything that's happening around that. How does Kat feel about the ending of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in real time?
Sure. Okay.
So if y'all aren't familiar with the Axe of the Blood God deep lore that's now like 4 years old, I think, when Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, I recorded a half like nonsensical segment with Nadia where I just ranted because I had stayed up all night playing through the end of Remake to get done with the review. And basically it was Krusty the Clown. What the hell was that?
What the hell was that?
The cigarette and everything.
It was so great we grew up with that show. No wonder we're twisted.
I mean, it's hard to go back to the surprise that I felt when I got to the end of it, because it was a pretty straightforward remake up to that point. So now I'm like emotionally prepared, but
yes, you are. So you have to make sure you deprive yourself of sleep for like 25 hours beforehand, maybe imbue some alcohol and or wacky tobacco. You'll be fine.
And you need to let me make a thumbnail that's your face going
Ooh?
and
We'll
big
finally
bold
get those
text that
precious
says
hits.
they did this.
Kat finally sees a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth ending, and she was crazy. Yeah, or something like that. I can't do YouTube reaction thumbnails, and maybe that's for the
we're too
best.
old for that.
Yeah,
It's just something that's not in our blood.
I can't. I won't ever, unless steeped in irony.
Or, do the thinking.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna draw a persona, and that's another popular option.
We should all definitely have VTubers.
Yeah.
We should actually.
No, we should just start doing that from now on. Yeah. Did you see Did you see the thing that went viral for the Los Angeles Dodgers had HoloLive night and invited a Shark Girl VTuber to sing the baseball song?
That's fantastic. That's wonderful.
And they had a tent full of merch, and the line was like around the stadium of people trying to get.
Incredible.
And it's now selling for the complete set's now selling for like $300-400 on eBay.
That's fantastic.
That is pretty funny. Shark Girl VTuber. When they told me when I was young, like, hey Nadia, you got to think about what you want to be when you grow up. That was useless. If you could be a Shark Girl VTuber, imagine going back to your old self and saying like, you say, hey, what should I be when I grow up? Shark Girl VTuber. What the fuck do you mean by? Like,
it was like even like 15 years ago when I think it was like a Far Side comic or something that came out.
The Nintendo one. That was perfect.
It was the parents looking at the job listings for like Nintendo player wanted, and like it'll pay a salary, as if that's some sort of fantasy that could never ever come to be.
Pro gamer, pro VTuber.
I actually there's one boomer who has ever wanted to know anything about what I do. And it's my ass doctor, my gastroenterologist. He's always interested. He's like, wow, cool. He asked me to explain to me, like, how does competitive gaming work? And I said, oh, well, think about watching a chess match live. He's like, oh, I get it. Because another one of his patients is a professional gamer. So I'm like, I got to meet this guy. I got to meet this guy in the ass doctor waiting room. Like, I think we'd have a great discussion. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're like 8 years overdue for a colonoscopy. And I'm like, dang. Oh, well, can't win them all.
Epic gamer moment.
I've had more than a few people who are older, and I say, oh, I'm a journalist, and they assume that I'm working for the New York Times or the New Yorker or something. And I'm like, no, I work for IGN and I write about video games. And then I show them like, and they're like, oh, can I? And the worst thing they can ask is, oh, can I see like your portfolio? Can I see some of the articles you've done? I'm like, I guess. and
And
then
it's like
Uh-huh.
that day you happen to choose to write about like Luigi's dick is huge, Nintendo showed like.
yeah,
So remember when that
exactly.
outline happened?
Yeah, yeah.
And everyone lost their minds. I was so jealous I wasn't writing about games at that point because Nintendo showed the outline of Luigi's dick and everyone lost their minds. And I was, you know that meme of Squidward looking at SpongeBob and Patrick in the dark room and they're like, "Yay, having fun." That
Uh-huh.
was me. Everyone's writing about Luigi's dick and I'm over here
Uh,
just like freelancing my ass off like I'm a sucker.
uh,
Freelancing out my ass off like a sucker.
Exactly.
My strategy now is just to send them to my actual portfolio that I when I'm applying for jobs because that has
I'm working on serious portfolio.
that has the articles that I'm proudest of. So
sure.
that looks a little better, you know. It's a little bit
No,
better.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's good if you're writing. It is good to have a wide range of topics. Like I have written a lot of dry copy for big corporations. You wouldn't believe it, but I have.
Yes. Victor, do we have any other mailbag lists of shame before we move on?
Oh yeah.
He just
I
went
want to bring
Kool-Aid
up.
man here. Victor bursting through a brick wall. Oh yeah.
Here we go. Here's one from Quicks. 2 games, both bearing the numeral 11. Final Fantasy XI. I've always been mildly interested, but I didn't want to play an MMO. I've gotten over that now. The more I hear about this game's world and legacy, the more the weight of my curiosity caves in. Back up. The more the weight of my curiosity caves in the decision making part of my brain. Frankly, I think curiosity is a great reason to play a game, but the last hurdle is the trick, making the time to play with increasingly fewer hours to myself. Dragon Quest XI. I adore Dragon Quest. I'm very excited to play it someday, but this is a I will play this when life is hard and I need it game. It's a kind of gift I'm saving for myself.
Oh,
If
that's nice.
games can nourish like food, I am saving this elixir.
You found your soulmate, Victor.
Look, Quicks knows it. He's my favorite.
Uh,
Sorry, Victor was just secretly turning the mailbag into an advertisement for Final Fantasy XI Pantheon.
I'm planting the seeds in every corner of the Discord. It's gonna happen.
I saw a lot of people in the mailbag saying Trails in the Sky FC,
Yeah.
including
that was good.
I think
Yeah.
Moonblaze Wolf said Trails in the Sky SC, which is, you know,
Yeah.
honestly a game I need to play. I played FC for the Pantheon and I really enjoyed it. Actually, it was
Great.
really
It's a game
good.
that needs to be. I don't know what's with Falcom, like, but they need to put that on the Switch. And I think Trails Anything is a big one for a lot of people. Which reminds me, the new one that just came out. If our audience can tell me, do I need to finish? Do I need to have finished all of Trails of Cold
Yes,
Steel to enjoy that, or is
yes.
it a fresh start? I kind
Uh,
of know the character. I kind of know
According
the character.
to Trails expert Cam Hawkins, you must play all of them. You must
Yeah,
go
I love
Clockwork
Cam. I
Orange
love Cam to
style,
death,
like
but
eyes
no,
pried open, and you have to
no.
play all of the Trails games every single freaking moment, or you will miss. Sorry, I don't mean to make fun of Cam, who's a very nice
I
young man,
do
but
love Trails 3 is such an excellent game, and we always talk about campsites, cozy places, blah blah blah. We never talk about that train in Trails 3, which is just one of my favorite home bases because I love trains. And this train has like a bar, it has your room, which is your inn because you have your bunks, and it has like a big viewing area so you can see when you're going by. Like trains are cool, man. We need more trains.
Yeah, agreed.
agreed. Especially as an American, we need more trains. Oh
We
God.
really, it is a disgrace that there is not a high-speed corridor along the Windsor Corridor, or even just Toronto to New York, because
Yeah.
that train, I have taken the train from Toronto to New York many times. It is always packed. It is always in use, and it takes 12 hours.
They
Shit takes
just
Wow,
12 hours.
really?
Yep.
They just opened a train corridor from Minneapolis to Chicago, and I read a news article. Experts shocked to discover people want a train from Minneapolis to Chicago.
People take
Yeah.
trains. People like trains. I like trains. Many people like trains.
Selfie loves trains. I mean,
Yeah.
she's got the train song. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
I
Laguna Matata
I
just call me Selfie. Train, train.
I'm
Train.
absolutely putting forward a best trains in RPGs episode, which I
Okay,
think
I
we
agree
can
with this.
Ooh.
fill
I
very
agree with this.
easily.
That's
Fantasy
great
Train number
SEO
one.
right
Let's
there.
go.
We're gonna own
Yeah.
that. We're gonna
Hell yeah.
own that list.
All of Europe suddenly running over to our show.
Yeah.
I heard there was trains.
Hey,
That was a
I
German
I
accent,
watched one video about public transport infrastructure, and my YouTube algorithm insists I want to watch every video about every railway system on the planet. So
That's a good ask though. Like
yeah.
people complain about Toronto's subway, but I like its subway. I like its GO trains. I like trains.
Yeah.
Trains are cool. Trains are very handy. In this age of climate change, we should be looking more into trains.
In the age of chaos. In the age of chaos. Sorry.
The age of man is over, man. It's all about the age of chaos now. It is my time.
Here's some games that don't have trains.
Ah.
Clue or Clow? Clue? How do you pronounce Clow's name? Clue?
Clow.
Klou?
Clow. Clow.
Clow.
Clow.
Clow says Chrono Trigger.
Oh, that's
I've
a big
been
one.
waiting to finish Final Fantasy 1 to 6 before jumping into it for release chronology reasons. It's taken me 7 years to get caught up, and now all that I have to do is start it. But massive must-play games like Rebirth, Shadow of the Erdtree, and Dawntrail keep releasing.
That's
Yeah.
fair. Yeah. That's the one thing that always gets in the way of my backlog. I want to play Witcher 3 very badly, but oh, here comes Final Fantasy VII, here comes Dawntrail, here comes SMT5, which I have to finish.
If anything, this year's quieter. Next year is going to be crazy. So
I know people are saying like, "Oh, it's a quiet year." In what universe? I don't know.
Once again, I recommend raising your vibrations to another level of ascendancy.
We don't do that here, Victor. This is a Christian podcast.
Free your mind from the hype cycle, the need to play what is new and hip and happening. Just relax into old stuff. All that new stuff is still gonna be there, and soon it's gonna be old.
I'm glad that you all just ignore me when I say bad shit. That's what you should do, by the way. You shouldn't encourage me.
Victor, I'm hip. I'm with it. I'm cool.
Look, I'm 34 years old, and I have accepted I will never be hip and cool ever again. I know, Kat, you're 27, 26,
Yeah,
so you've still got a few more years.
I got some years left.
Yeah.
I've never been hip. It's really freeing.
I insist. Don't tether yourself to this release, this endless churn. There will always be new.
No, I have to because I have a full-time job where it's literally my job to play what's cool and new and interesting. Thankfully, there aren't any cool and new and interesting games right now because everybody's playing First Descendant and Zenless Zone Zero and the endless grind games. So I can take a break and focus on my backlog a little bit.
Yeah, we are reaching the critical point of games as a service where everyone will just it's completely unsustainable to want to play everything new because everything new is a massive investment of time and human resources. So
yeah, I started at Zenless Zone Zero and I was like, wow, this is really mindless. Oh, it's a giant grind. Anyway, cool. And then I turned it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Hoyoverse is definitely not something that we cover very thoroughly in this podcast.
I know there are people who are big Genshin fans, but look, you can't cover everything. If you try to cover everything, you will go crazy. It's better to own a corner. Our corner is RPGs that were made by Japanese developers, often during the 16-bit era.
And we cover RPGs, not glorified slot machines. And I say that as someone who was the voice of the main character of a chloroformed.
They are like chloroform, aren't they? I did love Fire Emblem Heroes for a minute. That was like the gotcha game that got me. It gotcha'd me.
Gotcha. That's right there in the title, Kat.
I've thrown a couple bucks at a few of them, but I don't know if we really want to talk about I really enjoyed Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, and I played through season 1 of that, and it was really cool, and the music is great, and character designs are great. I'm not going to consider that part of my backlog, even though there's like
Yeah,
4 more seasons of apparently really good story and really, really good like set piece moments. And that game's super cool, but like I
graphics are
can't do
nice.
it. Also, they were marketing Final Fantasy War of the Visions as like a tactics successor for a while, and
Oh right, yeah.
it looks really cool. I'm never gonna do it. I won't. I just won't. It's not gonna happen.
Not happening. He's taking a stand. It's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
Drawing a line in the sand.
Yeah. I
I
even
will.
dipped into Ever Crisis for a bit, and then I was like, no, 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 no. This is
I never even touched Ever Crisis, which is a shame because it looked exactly like the kind of game I'd love to play on a console. Like, here is your Final Fantasy VII remake as you probably imagined it. I'd love to play that.
that's how they hook you, and then they do away with it. I
Uh,
whatever. I could talk
Costumes,
about Ever
costumes, costumes,
Crisis a lot.
costumes.
It's yeah, there's so much charming like pre-rendered backgrounds and low poly character models, and it tricks you into thinking it's doing something that it isn't, and then you get
Yeah,
roped
that's
into
not
the
right.
dumb gotcha stuff. And this, like you say, Kat, the endless grind that these games want you to participate in.
Um, one more. No. That. Okay. Pause. Reset. Yes. Well,
Cool.
that's our backlog of shame. And I ask you, dear listener, do you have more games on the list of shame? Or maybe you can prefer to think of it like Victor as a fine wine that's been sitting in your wine rack for a long time and you're just
Aged
waiting
perfect.
for the perfect night to break it open and pour it and think, wow, wine for the blood god. Take a deep drink.
Yeah.
At long last, Dragon Quest III, a game that's definitely on my backlog. And Live Alive, that's another one too. Oh my god,
That's fun.
I'm gonna be dead before I can play all these RPGs.
You can't
Yeah.
get to heaven until you play RPGs. Like, I don't know if you ever read the Neverending Story, but there was the book itself. Bastion was not allowed to leave unless he finished all the stories he started. So it's kind of like that. We're all going to be standing at a gate, like, here's your backlog of RPGs. You are here in limbo until you finish freaking Legend of Legaia.
What was that Simpsons quote? This is like the biggest slam dunk since the never-ending story of this case.
No, it's like, this is the most blatant case of false advertising. It's my lawsuit against the Never-Ending Story.
Perfect. All right, that is the RPG backlog of shame. It's time now for a series of random encounters. Sales numbers are in for May 2024, and the second best-selling game for that month, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door.
Yeah, let's go, Paper Fiends.
Another game that is on my RPG backlog of shame. That's like a big one too. I think I would actually.
And it's a short game. You would get through it pretty quickly.
I think so too. That and Undertale and honestly even Earthbound. It really hardens me to hear. Okay, like it's not that long. I can if I just like knuckle down and play through it. I was surprised how fast Final Fantasy V went. I just like boom, pushed through, got through it. And once you get to Act 2,
like a flight or something, it'd be perfect for that. A long one.
It can be really satisfying to fall into an RPG during a long flight and just be super into it. That's how I got into Baldur's Gate 3. I was like, I'll just start playing this, because I want to talk about it on the podcast. 6 hours later. Wow.
That's a long flight.
Yeah, it was a long flight. I was flying across country to New York, so.
Oh, that'll do it.
Yeah, and then I basically played it constantly on my Steam Deck for months, and it was a really wonderful experience. Baldur's Gate 3, everybody. Sonic Team's head wants to make a Sonic RPG before retiring. I mean, there's already a Sonic RPG. Haven't you heard?
Terrible.
From BioWare.
If you want to talk about stifled, snuffed out hopes, that was it. Like, oh my god, Sonic RPG by BioWare? Holy shit, it's gonna rule. And then EA bought BioWare, and I don't think they put any money into 3DS development because, dear god.
What a weird quirk in BioWare's backlog.
It really is. It's kind of a waste.
I also, whatever. Yeah, it's kind of a game for babies, but I don't know.
It is like kind of the DS equivalent of a Fisher Price busy box. Like poke at it. It goes, ding, ding,
I don't know. It's not quite even as good as like a Mario and Luigi or a Paper Mario.
No.
But like,
Command mission, baby. Let's go.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's fine. I think I'm going on record saying Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood, kind of neat.
Put that on the back of the box in 2024.
Kinda neat.
Also, my very dear friend and voice of Sonic in Sonic Prime, Devin Mack, he's been
Oh, cool.
doing a lot of Twitch streams of him playing through a bunch of Sonic games, and Sonic Chronicles was one of them, and it's pretty entertaining to watch him go
Oh,
through
we
that.
got a
Great job at
celebrity
Sonic on
here.
Prime, but Sonic Prime was not a good show, but he was good. The actors were good.
The actors are always good, unless
I'll-
they're not.
I'll
But
allow
in
it.
this case, they
I'll
are.
allow it. That had a stacked cast. That is some of Canada's best in Sonic Prime.
Oh, that's right. There are a lot of Canadians, isn't there?
It's all Canada.
Canadian voice acting renaissance. Let's go. Brian Drummond, get out here.
Yeah.
Scott
Yeah.
McNeil, where are you? Come on the
Well,
show. Okay.
I'm not gonna. Let's. I was just about to say something about some other problematic people with problematic views on certain things. I'm not gonna get into it.
I think I know what you're talking about. I have thoughts. I have so many thoughts, but we're not gonna do those thoughts right now.
Let's
We're gonna
not
move on.
even touch it.
Let's not go there, folks. By the way, another good back of the box quote: Canada's best.
Canada's best. Little maple leaf and a little like swish.
Yeah.
The Canada seal of approval. Palworld has signed a deal to expand its franchise beyond video games. Oh boy,
That is
Palworld
so
merch.
funny, because
Remember
it's like
Palworld?
We all know it's like, it was what it was, and that's why
Yeah.
the Pokemon,
A meme?
But what
Yeah.
was that?
the PAL things, whatever you want to call them, they all look like Pokemon ripoffs. And it's like Nintendo was probably like, whatever, it's just some thing. We don't really care that much. Now Sony has like this PAL World logo, and it has all the ripoff, like you can clearly see these monsters are assembled from bits of Pokemon. And I'm
Little
looking at it, has
bits.
Sony's name on it, and I'm like, okay, Nintendo might care now, because this is pretty blatant in a lot of cases. Like you can name the Pokemon these things are assembled out of. It's
this
creepy.
thing's just a Wooloo.
They're
thing's just a
legally
Wooloo.
distinct.
We have Pokemon at home, and it was fun. It was just some fan thing, whatever. Kids just play. It's like an Arc game, right? It's like that. People just screwing around in a virtual world, and now it's like Sony's like, we're gonna make something out of it. No, you're not. First of all, second of all, Nintendo's gonna they're gonna be like, okay,
Yeah.
but they're not gonna make any money off this anyway. Like, I don't know who's gonna buy a Power World shirt.
I don't
Not
know.
me.
I don't know.
But you should buy an Axe of the Blood God shirt, because they're pretty
Yep,
sick.
sure.
Yep. Compile Heart will release a new Sorcery Saga entry for PlayStation and Switch in Japan. Rogue Traders, Cold Shadows DLC. Rogue Traders, another game on my backlog of shame. I actually picked that one up during the Steam summer sales, so I am going to get to it. The DLC has been delayed to September 24th. In the meantime, Jeanne d'Arc, beloved PSP tactics RPG, coming to PlayStation this week. Hey, so if you missed it the first time, you can play it on PlayStation. Fuga Melodies of Steel, better known as Valkyria Chronicles with Gundam and furries, will be over twice as long as the previous games.
That's pretty cool.
Victor, I think, is literally writing a random encounter as it's happening. This is like the definition of a random encounter. Aya Nishitani, author of Digital Devil Saga Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei, is looking into translating his novels and is releasing chapters of Volume 3. Victor, as you're literally typing this as we speak, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah. He's just been very active on Twitter lately. And he's also been talking to a lot of fans, especially about like the fan translations of the novels and stuff. And he's very he's just very appreciative. He's just glad that there's any version of these out there. But he's been sending out links. He's specifically going through volume 3, and is translating it chapter by chapter into English. And I don't know, I feel like that's that's a cool part of RPG history, is the
Yeah.
novels that the games are based off of. And he talks a lot about his process, and it's interesting. He said recently that he used to align more with the chaos side, but as he gets older, he starts to appreciate law. And
Oh.
like, if that isn't the you get more conservative as
I
you
was gonna
get
say,
older
that's like, you're gonna vote
for
conservative
RPG
when you get
fans.
older. No, and I'm a socialist, so take that.
Yeah, yeah. But no, it's cool. He's engaging with readers and players of the games a lot lately, and it's very interesting.
That's
So
fine. I
that,
like it when developers do that. There's a lot of that going on in the Mega Man community as well. Like
yeah, yeah,
old developers coming back and being put in charge of the franchise. Thank God. Maybe we'll get
yeah.
something out of it.
I feel
Maybe.
like there was the designer of Sonic too. He's also been active a lot lately, posting like old concept art and talking to fans and like engaging with people who are posting their fan art or like versions of his like art that sort of emulates his style. And he's been releasing a lot of like previously never seen old concept art. So yeah, I don't know. This is one of
So
those things
social
that
media can
is,
be nice sometimes.
yeah, this is why Twitter collapsing would be so tragic, because this is where a lot of these Japanese developers just kind of
Exactly.
are. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, Aya Nishitani, go check out his Twitter, because he's posting a lot of cool old Megami Tensei stuff.
Sweet.
And finally, a little eulogy. Gothic, Risen, and LX developer Piranha Bytes is now officially closed after not being able to find a partner. They were acquired by the Embracer Group in 2019.
Right.
Oh,
And we all know Embracer Group started making cost reductions. And unfortunately, another great classic studio, the studio behind Gothic, which is like the defining game of Euro RPGs. Not a game that we've covered a lot here on Axe of the Blood God, because we tend to. I mean, that's a very crunchy RPG, and we will get to it someday. Famous for its interactivity with the environment and everything, has a very dedicated fan base who are really into the nuances of that game. Who would call it's like there's only one true RPG and it's named Gothic, and Gothic 2 and maybe Risen. But it is a tragedy that Piranha Bytes, which was like a pretty large studio and a large employer in Germany, just like many other studios in 2024, they are the latest casualty. So rest
A
in
lot of
peace.
people who should be in jail are not in jail. It's kind of frustrating.
yeah,
I think that is a good and true statement, Nadia.
yeah.
And now it's time to roll into the tavern, settle in by the fire, talk about what we have been playing. As I mentioned, the Steam Summer Sale just happened. I picked up a handful of games during this event. I picked up Stardew Valley on the Steam Deck. So I've now
I was gonna
officially
say,
double
are you,
dipped.
like, did you have Stardew Valley?
I do. I wanted the mods, basically.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. I
There's no
also
crossplay, right?
I don't think so. No crossplay. Yeah. I also want to try that 1.6 update, which still isn't out on Nintendo Switch.
No Switch. That's true. Yeah. I wonder why. I wonder what's taking so long.
I don't know. I mean, you do have to go through the certification process and everything,
Right.
so it can take some time.
What is in the 1.6 update that is so? I know it's like a big one, but
You
what's,
can put
like, the
hats
main-
on cats.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I think it.
Re-downloading right now.
I think it adds an entirely new dungeon. It changes up some of the mechanics. It just adds a lot, honestly. And
Yeah, I kind of put aside Stardew Valley, and then I always get back into it. So 1.6 is probably going to suck me right back in.
it adds some new secrets to find that the community was like delving into, including another like bit with the mayor's underpants, and
Getting on with Marnie, huh?
yeah, I think there's a Terraria reference in there now, stuff like that. And yeah, so it's just a pretty expansive update for a game that's already big. I really wanted Stardew Valley to be this month's Pantheon, but alas, no.
Alas.
No, we played
it is.
Pokemon instead. We'll talk about Pokemon. I can talk about
Has
Pokemon all
anyone
day.
put the underpants in the soup? Yes. If you put the underpants, the mayor's underpants in the soup, I think there's like a cut scene where you get in a lot of trouble. The mayor's not happy with you.
I think that there should be a mod where you could be a villain in Stardew Valley. Like, I think that putting the mayor's underpants in the soup should be only the start. It's like the
You should
beginning of
wear
a
them.
horror.
Imagine if you could like wear the underpants on the outside of your pants and walk around town like, "Hey everyone, how's it going?" And you're like, everyone's like, "Why are you wearing underpants?" And the mayor just goes pale, kicks you out of town.
I think it could be like a horror movie. Everything was
Stardew
great.
Valley Dark Urge, yeah.
Everything was great till the farmer came to town. Don don.
Farmer came to town.
There's a lot of I get a lot of Stardew Valley memes on Instagram now, and it's a lot like that new farmer came to town. God, they're a little weird. Oh, look, they are now, hiding in the bushes, spying on people's interactions.
I want to marry him and have babies with him.
Yeah, I'm gonna marry him now. It's like I'm dating him too. Wait, what?
Wait, what?
What? But I also picked up No Man's Sky, another game that I own. And let's see what else. A few other pressing games that I want to play in a moment. But I think I mentioned that I picked up Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I've started playing it again. I'm in chapter 10 right now.
So you're pretty close to the end, aren't you?
Am I? I thought there was like 14 chapters. No, I didn't think so. No, okay.
Yeah.
You've still got
how
like
many
2
chapters
more open fields to.
Sounds about
Oh.
right. I
Look at
just got to
this point.
Cosmo Canyon. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I heard
yeah.
Cosmo
That little
Canyon's a long one. So
It's
Yeah, there's
gorgeous
lots.
though.
yeah,
Oh,
it
I
looks
love
cool.
the
It's
music
I
really
met
inside
Sid,
the
which
town.
ruled. I like Sid.
Yeah.
They did a good job, I think, of capturing these Final Fantasy VII characters and putting them in the game. Like even characters like Ketchi and Screw You. That's what I'm going to call them.
Good.
I think even characters like Ketchi are like actually really good in this one.
Yeah.
Maybe a little overbearing at times. Like there's a certain point where I just wanted to be like, Yuffie, chill out. I love you, but oh my god.
Yuffie is very much the ADHD girl of the group.
Yeah.
She's just
She really
always
like loves to
falling
steal
on
the
the wall.
spotlight. It's like, okay, Yuffie, the adults are talking.
Yeah. Yeah. That was definitely my feeling.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of like, the shrieky girls who are like have to peel off the ceiling and whatnot.
I do like her more in the original.
Me too. Yeah. All right. And even Intergrade to some extent, but like
Yeah.
maybe it was
I
in small
loved Intergrade.
doses where it's like this is fun, and now it's just like, oh my god, calm down.
Yeah. Man, Intergrade was good.
I do love Aerith though, and we are.
Aerith is great.
Yeah, we're building a relationship. I've been trying
to.
I've been trying to play through the summon battles, and they're so hard.
Yeah, they get real tough.
Do you do the research missions where you can kind of lower the? Yeah, they can be tough. I love Chadley. Everyone hates Chadley, but I love that stupid idiot.
I lowered the Phoenix one by 1 and started to play that, and I can get him down to like 75% health, but it's still like, you know, when they do their summon attack and do a huge amount of damage, it's hard to come back from that. You have to have a bunch of healing locked and loaded, and if you lose somebody, is there revival in this game? Like, is there a revival spell? I don't have it right now, so
you better get yourself some Phoenix down, Cat.
I think
you can't use items is the problem.
No, you can't use items in those.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But I really like throwing myself at one of those summons and losing, and then trying again to see if, okay, well, is this like a movement on the battlefield issue? Do I need to read these attacks a little bit better? And then I'll figure out how much of it is just my playing skill, and then I'll see how far I get them down, and then I'll go, okay, at this point, this is my loadout. This is I need to alter my strategy completely. I need to bring in a new character. I need to find out what weaknesses I'm not exploiting. I need to find some kind of systems-based thing that I need to take advantage of, and I
Mm.
Right.
think that's really fun. I think that's the
It's
trial and error of
it's
those
pretty
fights
clever.
is really good.
Each one is different. I'm using Cloud and Yuffie and Red 13 as my group.
Red's so good. I
A-
love Red
And
so
the
much.
assist attacks are a really important and critical part because then that builds up the synergy attacks and it also builds up the ATB bars on your two partners. And I spent a bunch of time like moving materia around. I am gonna try the Phoenix one more time. I'm gonna put the prayer materia on Cloud instead because his bars always seem to be full, and then
Mm-hmm.
that gives me like a decent amount of healing for everybody because that's what I
Right.
need. That's what I need the most at the moment is just being able to have consistent healing, so that I can keep my HP up enough that when I get past the Phoenix attack and then have multiple monsters on the field at once, I can actually like hang on and win and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
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 yeah,
And you should probably can you buff yourself like against like
yeah,
use
no,
shell?
yeah,
Shell?
I can throw up shell and that kind of thing, and you can put on. I think you can put anti-fire stuff and that kind of thing. So
Oh, for
like
sure.
in
Yeah.
theory,
It's gotta be present.
Phoenix isn't that hard. It's the other ones who are a little bit tougher. But
Mhm.
it's like I keep unlocking these summons and then I go and they freaking roll me when I try to fight them. So
Yeah. I love it.
that's cool though. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's a really I don't often say this, but I do really enjoy the story scenes. It's fun just to watch the characters interact. I've now got this party of really goofy ass characters running around between Red 13 and Yuffie and Ketchi. Soon enough, Sid will join the party. It's a motley crew to be sure, but it somehow works. You would think that it wouldn't work, but no, it does actually work. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's a testament to the fact that we can I don't know, you can have all of this high production value and this realism and still embrace the goofiness that is sort of
Yeah.
inherent in that era of JRPGs. It's not something we need to lose or be embarrassed about or think it's not serious storytelling because people dress up funny and tell goofy jokes all the time.
Have
I
you
don't know. It's
Kat, have you gotten to the part with Johnny? The Johnnies?
Oh yeah, I
That's
saw
funny as
some.
hell.
I saw a cutscene with or maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. I think I'm thinking of somebody else. No, so maybe not. Wrong. No, I
Johnny's
haven't
great.
seen it. I was thinking of a cutscene that I just saw with Hojo, and I'm like, oh, what's going on with this guy now, huh? So
I love the way that they depicted Hojo's face. It's so evil and saggy. Quite a contrast from Athena. Wouldn't you
yeah,
agree?
even the fact that they still have Hojo surrounded by the babes on the beach is funny
yeah.
Yes.
to me. Like that's so good.
That was funny as hell.
You're
Love
Preserving
Hojo.
moments like that is important.
You're in for a bad time. You're in a bad time if you're laying there on a operating table and your doctor is just talking to himself and laughing.
Yeah, you got a problem.
Not amazing. Uh, also, a couple weeks ago, Eric suggested that I get Signalis, so I grabbed that one too during the Steam Summer Sale. So
Cool.
he was like, "You might like it." I'm like, "Oh, it's a horror game or something," but sure, I'll give it a shot. But Nadia, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I finished Dawntrail. Um,
Hey.
the last area, I'm not gonna say much, but like I kind of put up a tweet about it, and it got like thousands of likes last time I
Wow.
checked. Because I think the what I said in the area in general like really resonated with a lot of people. But yeah, had a great time. I think it's a really great establishment for a new set of adventures. I love Wook Lamont. I don't care what anyone says. There is some complaints about how your Warrior of Light kind of takes a backseat to what's going on. It's like yeah, they are new to the new world
Yeah.
and you are there to help someone kind of become the warrior of light for that continent. And I didn't think they were left out in the first place. So whatever. I had a great time. Some pretty God, I love the fourth map because I've always dressed myself as a cowboy. And when I
Hmm.
start a dungeon, I say meowdy to everyone. And so you get to the fourth map and it's like Texas. you're like, oh man, here I am. Here is my glam. And then
Yeah.
the game gives me better glam. I'm like, oh, so long, glam that I worked so hard to get.
Yeah, there's some real good Wild West fits on all the glamour
Yeah.
tags and glamour sites. It's great. I love that zone so much. I think it's cool and is an exciting precursor of sort of where the game is willing to go. And I
Yeah,
think
I
that
noticed there were
rules.
some discussions on Aaronville had about the color blue that I thought like, oh, Victor will be very interested to hear about this.
Oh
Unfortunately,
yeah,
we got interrupted. But I love
yeah,
Aaronville. I think he's a great character.
yeah.
He's a big bunny boy cat, if you don't know. He's a major character in this one. He's a guide, so he's kind of like your guide to the new world. So he's around. He's
Yeah.
fussy. Let's call him fussy. But yeah, it's really looking forward to the patches. I think one thing I will say, this is the upgrade is for the visuals is absolutely gorgeous. Like now the maps when you fly around them, you can really see the draw distance is so much longer. You have the pitch and yaw going on with your mounts, which really adds a lot of like life, strangely enough, to how
Hmm.
you fly.
Totally.
Visual upgrade, absolutely 100% good stuff. I'm playing on
The
PS5, so I don't know.
the lighting upgrades are huge.
They're unreal. They're so good.
It makes just the lighting of a lot of cutscenes look so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. So great expansion overall. I'm happy.
Excellent.
It crushed me in the last sixth, but it'll do that.
I'm sorry.
Warning. It's okay. Sometimes you got to realize things, you know. Sometimes it's a game that's got to make you realize things.
If Dawnbreaker or Dawntrail is a fine bottle of wine that makes you cry, so
Yeah,
Yeah, you
a
drink it
little
while
bitter,
crying.
but a
a little
little
bitter.
sweet.
Is it a white
It's
wine
kind of
or
a
a red
dry
wine?
white. I'd say
Dry
a dry
white.
white.
Oh,
Yeah.
Does it give you a
sure.
headache?
I'm good with dry white. Red wine gives me a headache. I like the taste better of red wine though.
Yeah,
Red makes me
I like
sleepy.
sweet wine. My
I'm a
mom,
white wine girl over here.
yeah,
Me too.
Yeah.
Chardonnay.
I like a clear, crisp, and cold and refreshing white.
Me too.
Yeah. It's preferably something that I can pair with fish or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Absolutely.
Victor, how about you?
Oh, I could talk about Dawntrail, but I'm not because I have a whole podcast to talk about that.
Hey,
So go
Charlie and
check
should.
out those.
Dropouts.
You should.
All month our episodes are on the free feed because look, it's Dawntrail.
It's a new
We're
expansion.
sharing our thoughts. We've been going through each chunk and sharing our thoughts about spoilers up to those points, so you can sort of take those in chunks. Nadia, Mike, and I have been talking a ton about those. So either get those on your usual Blood God feed by subscribing at the $5 level, or you can listen to those free with ads over on the Charlie and Dropouts podcast feed. But I'm not here to talk about those. I'm here. Well, okay. First thing I want to give a shout out to. Um, it's not an RPG, but this developer's next game is a top-down action RPG. Um, and this game was just played at GDQ. So I've hopped back into Curse Crackers, which is maybe my favorite platformer of all time, maybe.
Really?
Wow.
I haven't heard of it.
It's incredible. It's got a Game Boy Color aesthetic,
Oh, that's
and
the aesthetic.
it plays like a mix of like Donkey Kong Country with Klonoa. Um,
It's interesting.
it's incredible. There's a lot of like maneuvering using enemies and keeping momentum, and there are so many like weird secrets in it. It's a game that like doesn't tell you much. On the surface, it's a cute little story about you play a character named Belle, and she's off to rescue her boyfriend who's been kidnapped by her rival, and that technically does play out, but it's on it's a way to explore a world that has a ton of lore about old gods and
Cool.
um like yeah, it gets creepy. Like there's an underlying darkness to everything that goes on. The soundtrack is incredible. The graphics are amazing. I love the characters. It was my like game of 2022. And it just had a really fun run by a Canadian speedrunner named Metroid Crime at GDQ. She's delightful. The run is so much fun. It's a great game. And their Color Grave's upcoming game is called Veritus.
Is
And
what Curse Crackers? What's it on?
Curse Crackers is on. I played it on Switch, but I also got it on Steam just in case. I think it might be on everything, but yeah, it's
Cool.
great game. But really, I've been dipping back into some later game FF11 stuff, as well as my fiance and I both picked up Monster Hunter Rise while it was on sale, because we've
Nice.
both been craving some Monster Hunter. And then I was delighted to hear you've all sort of been chatting about it a little bit on the show over the past few weeks. And I don't have much to add, but Monster Hunter Rise is great.
I
It's
agree.
so good.
How far are
Me
you?
too.
Yeah. We just got to rank 5 together, so
Nice.
we're still early on.
Okay.
But it's rank 5. It's a joy.
People
The
keep mentioning.
movement,
Hmm.
yeah, go ahead.
No, you go. You go. Go.
Oh, just that the movement feels. I mean, once you wrap your mind around the controls, you really do have to use every single button on that controller, and some in permutations that you never think of. Like there's a lot of holding down a shoulder and
Yes.
hitting a face button to then put you in a stance that lets you do another combination of things. Which is familiar to Monster Hunter players, but this one especially because there's so much new movement tech. What weapon? Oh, I this time around I'm using a bow, or no, a large bow gun.
Cool. Yeah,
I like
I'm a daggers person. Always a daggers person. 2
yeah.
daggers, I'm good. I'm saving the world.
My fiance is a twin blade.
Oh, twin blades are so
And
good. Anything twin blade is a winner.
yeah,
Dex, high dex, baby. That's all you need in life.
yeah.
I
What were you gonna say,
use.
Kat?
Oh, I used a switch axe in Monster Hunter
Oh
Rise,
yeah,
and had a good time with it. I think my favorite weapon is either the long sword or the great sword.
I
Just
love longsword.
yeah, it's a lot of fun to parry monsters, and it's a challenging weapon to use, but very satisfying if you get it to use right. I used a bow, which is fun, which is actually pretty fun, I think, especially if you're in a group, and
Yeah.
works really well
Totally.
with certain monsters, I think. So yeah, I actually got a full bow set and a full switchette set, and I'm still trying to decide which weapon I'm going to use for Monster Hunter Wilds.
Mhm.
Change things up a little bit. Probably, I may literally just go back to the great sword or something, just or the long sword, just because I want to have a good time. But I am really intrigued by the gun lance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was watching my friends play that one with that one. I'm like, oh, it's pretty fun actually,
Yeah.
But I will say that I refuse to grind a full set of armor and weapons for the base game this time. They're not getting me. I'm waiting
Right.
until the master rank to do all the grinding so that I don't burn
Yes.
out. Because I put like 200 hours into Monster Hunter Rise before freaking Sunbreak came out.
Yes. Yeah. No, we noticed that downloading it now, you get that nice set of gear that preps you basically for Sunbreak.
It's like, yeah, get through
Um,
the base game for the love of God.
yeah. Which is nice because it means we're getting through the early stuff relatively easily, which is nice. Because I don't know, we've both played half a dozen Monster Hunter games in our time on this earth, so the less we have to do all of the early stuff. But even then, I noticed that Rise is really good about getting you into the action
Yeah,
really quick.
Hmm.
it is.
So, but yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
I should re-download it. Like I have it on Switch, but
Yeah.
We
I
should
should
all
really see that.
play Grand Blue Fantasy Relink.
Yeah, sure. date?
Is it
It's
a
like
Monster Hunter like?
yeah, it is actually. It's a multiplayer
Cool.
game. Yeah, it's really pretty. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah, it is pretty.
yeah, so I don't know, like maybe we should play those. I
More for the backlog.
more games for the backlog for the Blood God. But no, I've had a number of people be like, "No, Cat, you gotta play Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. It's a great multiplayer game with amazing combat and beautiful visuals." I'll show you. I'll show it to you at some point, Victor. Maybe during the post show or something. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
all right, that's it for the tavern. Nadia, take us home.
When I was 15 or 14, one or the other, we had a family friend who had like a schoolhouse. Like she lived out of a renovated schoolhouse in the middle of nowhere. Uh, Er- uh, Victor, are you familiar with like the Rice Lake area? Not Rice Lake, Lake Scugog, like in Southern Ontario?
No, no.
Well, she had her house up there, and like I said, it was in the middle of nowhere, and we used to spend a lot of weekends there for that one particular year, and that was when I learned about the concept of absolute darkness. Like I am city born and raised. There is never a point in time where it is totally dark. Like even when I remember when Toronto had the blackout, like it still wasn't like 100%. But going to the schoolhouse, and we like usually spend the night there. I learned what darkness is, and darkness is a country road in the middle of nowhere in somewhere Canada, like Southern Ontario. I think Letterkenny, but somehow more wild.
Yeah.
And we, one of the kids who live there, first of all, they're all into drugs. Just letting you know, they're like all their parents moved them out of the city because I don't like the drugs, I don't like the bad influences. All into drugs, all into alcohol, all into bush parties. Whereas I was like, oh, let's go to a movie when on a Friday night when I was a kid. They're all like, let's have a bush party and get really crunk. Yet anyway, this kid kind of dared us to walk down a country road in the middle of the night, and there's nothing but cornfields on either side, and you can barely see off in the distance, of course, like tiny, tiny flickers of light from the farmhouse, like down the ways. And so I was like, okay, here we go. It's me, my brother, and this kid, and we're all walking. You can see like way off in the distance was like a tiny light of a store that was closed, of course. And we said, okay, we'll walk there and walk back. Uh, Someone came out of the cornfield and screamed at us and started running after us, and we just booked it. Like, I have never been so scared in my life because, again, I can handle city darkness. I cannot handle absolute darkness where you have like the lights of a house behind you, and then you look beyond the lights and it's just black. I cannot handle that, especially since someone came running out of the cornfield screaming at us. I don't know if it was a prankster. I don't know if it was a drunk.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
know if it
gonna
was
say,
Flag himself, but I
did you
just
ever
could
figure out
not
the
hang around.
origin of this entity? Because either this was a prankster
This
or a killer.
entity.
Yeah, yeah,
Or a killer.
yeah.
Yeah, I had another friend who lived in an area very much like that, where it's just cornfield and darkness. And apparently, she and her friends were screwing around at night because that's what you did when you live in the country, I guess. And they just scare each other, like you jump out of the cornfield. And like, apparently, she jumped out of the cornfield screaming, "I'm Gypsy, the Acid Queen" from Tommy. And this person screamed and ran.
Ah,
But yeah, this was
cool
just a crazy.
reference.
What a reference, huh? Like it was in Toronto at the time, so she just kind of like went with it. But
Sure.
yeah, I don't know what chased me out of the cornfield, and I don't want to know because cornfields and darkness do not equal good times. I am going to stay in the city for now. Thank you. I would like to move out somewhere a little more wild, but Toronto has a lot of lakes and like parks and stuff like that that I really like about it.
Sure.
But darkness, man.
Uh, what was I gonna ask? Oh, I can't remember.
Robo Riley says only you could get chased in a cornfield in true darkness in Canada. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Should have
do,
been
do you,
canola oil.
has this contributed to any corn-related trauma? Like, can you do a corn maze still? Can
Oh
you?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Like I've been in like some of the really cool haunted houses where people are actually like rubbing wet sponges on you and like as if you're getting licked by monsters. That was a
Uh,
weird haunted house.
Nothing
But-
scarier than being rubbed by wet sponges.
Oh,
It was
damp.
strange.
Ugh. Ah.
Ooh,
I would be
porous.
like, I hate
Ugh,
this. This is
ugh.
truly horrible.
Yeah.
But well, you don't know what else has been rubbed with that sponge. Ew, it could be like
Yeah.
a toilet sponge or something.
Gross.
Sure.
I will say though, the nice thing about Absolute Darkness is you get to see the stars. I don't get to see the stars that often. Never
Mhm.
seen like the Milky Way or anything like that.
Stars
so
are really
it's nice
incredible.
to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go to
Yeah.
Minnesota's Boundary Waters, that's one of the handful of certified true darkness zones at night.
There's so few of those now.
Yeah, another one's like on the Channel Islands. They are very, very rare and very, very cool. Nadia, did you? When I was very small, actually, we would have bonfires in our neighborhood, and
Oh yeah.
the neighborhood kids would get together, and we would play Midnight Caller, which was basically lost hide and go seek, but in the dark, and we'd be running
we
through.
did.
We would be running through all the backyards and everything, and then the slightly older kids would, of course, torment the younger kids, which were us. So you'd be like walking along, and you'd be like, "Wait a minute, there are too many shadows here. What's going on?"
That's creepy as hell.
I know, right? Because it was super dark, like in those
Yeah,
backyards.
and the bonfire.
Yeah.
Like throws off that weird light. We used to have bonfires when I've talked about the Chaos Cottage we all went to for the summer. And yeah, we used to like roast marshmallows, and I had no idea how to roast marshmallows, so I just kind of stick it right in the embers. It would come out flaming every time. I'm like, what
I
am
love
doing
that
wrong?
though. Oh, it's actually kind of satisfying
It
too.
tastes good. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you see the marshmallow on fire, and then you like get that.
Blow it out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Crispy and gooey.
Crispy and gooey, and you put it right into that s'more. So good.
Good stuff. Tasty.
And that's it for this week's episode of Acts of the Blood God. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for watching us. Thank you so much for your generous support. Remember, we stream every Saturday morning at 9:15 a.m. Pacific, 12:15 p.m. Eastern. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Support the stream. Support the podcast. Just $1 a month will get you the show ad-free, and you'll get access to our Discord, updates from our community. You'll get to participate in voting. Just come on over. Toss a dollar to Acts of the Blood God. Your generous support keeps the podcast going and lets us do this thing, covers all of our expenses. It's really, really great, and we have a great community over on Acts of the Blood God. We're heading now into the Acts of the Blood God post show with the Stars of Destiny, who will be, some of our most generous supporters. And we'll be doing that in just a moment. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Kat Bailey. And for Nadia, Victor, and myself, happy adventuring.